A few years ago, a mother and father needed a time off of working and taking care of two children, so they wanted to head out for a night on the town. They called Amy their babysitter. When Amy arrived, the two children were just about ready to go to sleep, so she just got to make sure everything was okay with the children. Later that night, the babysitter got bored and went to watch TV in the guest room upstairs, but she needed ass, so she called them and asked if she could watch cable in the guest room. The parents said it was okay, but Amy had another question. She asked if she could cover up the angel statue outside the bedroom window with a blanket or cloth, at the very least close the blinds, because it made her scared. The phone line was silent for a moment, and the father said, "Take the children and get out of the house now. We will call the police. We never had or bought an angel statue." The police officers, Amy and the two kids, dead within 4 minutes of the call. No angel statue was ever found, but the police officers were having trouble figuring out what might have killed them. There was no wound, cuts, or anything. No one knows, but the weeping angel. Hope you have a good night rest. My cousin recently moved here from India. On a recent road trip exploring America, we were talking and exchanging ghost stories and laughing at similarities and differences between American ghost stories and Indian ghost stories. When I asked her if she's experienced anything supernatural, her eyes widened and averted her eyes to the window. Just when the silence was about too much for me, she softly responded, "Yes, a few. One is very troubling. When I was in my second year in college, I stayed in an all-girl hotel. I made many friends. We were all very happy to be in school, away from our parents. The hostel was so much fun, but it was a very, very old building. Electricity was only put in the rooms. Sometimes candles were placed along the windows if a watchman was present, but normally, once you left the rooms, you were faced with complete darkness. It's common to wake someone up if you needed to walk down the hall to the restroom. We all had a childish fear of being left alone in the dark. One night I had to use the restroom. It was about 4 a.m. I went to my friend's bed and tapped her on the arm. She immediately opened her eyes as soon as I touched her. I apologized for bothering her, and I told her I needed to pee. She smiled at me and hopped out of the bed. All the way down the hall, she laughed and danced. I could not see her at all, but her bangles clanked together loudly, and the bells on her ankles jingled softly. It was a very calming sound. I laughed and danced, trying to mimic, but I was too tired to move. She said nothing to me, though occasionally I heard her hum one of our favorite Bollywood songs. The same thing happened on our return. I fell back asleep easily. I woke up fairly late the next morning to the sound of men in our room. They surrounded her bed. I bolted from my bed, prepared to protect my friend, when I realized that they were administrators from the college. I peered over closer. My friend's lifeless eyes were fixated on my bed, the same smile on her face. It was suicide. Her time of death was 11:30 p.m., almost 5 hours before I woke her. And now, a special story for all of you who intend to have a good night's sleep tonight. Can you fall asleep tonight? Deep breathing might help. It relaxes the mind, even though it would take a while. It really does work, so try it. But this time, listen closely. Then, while breathing, stop! If you catch that extra breath after you stopped, it's him. He does what you do. He breathes like you do and follows you, noticing every micro movement, but it's a bit hard to mimic breathing. Next time when you're trying to fall asleep, try not to notice that extra breathe, or else. Hello, Tombstones Coffins. I'm RJ Cemetery. I hope you enjoyed these readings of 3 very true, scary stories. try to have a good night's sleep tonight.